Welcome to the Tuesday news episode of In His Bag. It's week 2, and some interesting things have happened since the last show. So I'm going to start off with the vegetables first, and some unfortunate news at the Winter Olympics is Lindsey Vonn suffered a horrific crash. I'm not going to show it, spare the visuals for everyone because it is a brutal video. If you want to watch it, you can find it. But she suffered a brutal crash at the Winter Olympics in Italy and had to be airlifted off of the slopes. And news later came out that she suffered a compound fracture in her fibula, I believe. So it's horrible news. You never want to hear an athlete having an injury like that. I was talking to my dad, who is working at the Winter Olympics right now, that however unfortunate that it was, I neither of us believe that she should have been racing. She crashed a couple weeks before and injured her ACL. So when you go into a race like downhill skiing, there are a lot of things that could go wrong, and you want to be 100% when you're doing that. So going into a race with an injured ACL is not a good recipe. So there's that factor, but there's also the factor of the Winter Olympics. I understand that the Olympics for a lot of people are a once in a lifetime event, even though Lindsey Vonn has done it more than once. But I understand the motivation of, oh, this is the Olympics. I will push through it no matter what. That completely makes sense to me. But in the end, the crash happened and the injury happened. So it's a compound fracture. For those that don't know what a compound fracture is, it's when the bone completely snaps. It's like picturing when you have a pencil or a pen and you completely snap it into two separate pieces. That is what happens with a compound fracture. So it's a devastating injury, and now the question arises of whether or not she'll be able to walk properly after that injury. I know there have been other instances of compound fractures. Alex Smith suffered a brutal compound fracture playing with the Commanders, I believe, and it took him years and multiple surgeries to step back onto the football field. I don't know how similar the recovery process for Lindsey Vonn is going to be and what it entails, but I don't think that she'll be able to make it back to the Olympic stage ever again, which is truly unfortunate news. And then we're going to continue on with the veggies, and we're going to go over to something that happened in the NBA with the Detroit Pistons and Charlotte Hornets. There was a massive brawl between the two yesterday, so I'm going to play the video and let everyone watch it. Here we go.
Yet they lead the NBA in fouls per game. Clearly, fouling is not a problem for a good defensive team. And Duran is fouled, and oh my goodness! And Moose is upset. Moose is really upset. I have never seen Moussa Diabate like this. Goodness, now Miles and Duran and Beef Stew! This is out of control. Oh, wow.
Beef Stewart on the bench.
Isaiah Stewart's out of the. He'll be suspended for a while. He was on the bench.
It was a crazy sequence of events. As you saw, Jalen Duren, he first-time All-Star this year. He went in for a drive. Moussa Diabate clearly fouled him. There's no getting around that. But the reaction from Jalen Duren getting up in Diabate's face and then shoving Diabate in the face drew that reaction from Diabate, and it led to 4 ejections of Jalen Duren, Diabate, Miles Bridges, and Beef Stew. So it's not something you want to see every day. I will say there are most likely suspensions going to be handed out for this. The most lengthy one is going to be to Beef Stew because he is a repeat offender. As one of the top comments says, he ain't missing an opportunity to scrap. So he will always be in a fight. He has been in previous fights, so he will get the longest suspension out of all of them. And then for Jalen Duren, this isn't exactly a great look for a first-time All-Star going into an All-Star break this weekend. So even though it's great entertainment factor, it's not something you want to see on the NBA court often or at all in general. So there's that bit of news that I'm not exactly thrilled about in the NBA. And then we're going to continue with some not so great news in the NBA with one Wardell Stephen Curry. He has been ruled out for the All-Star game with a knee injury, and he's now missed the past 5 games, so he'll miss the game against the Spurs coming up as well. And then the hope is that he'll be back after All-Star break. Their first game is against the Celtics, so that's the hope. On to some more positive news with the Super Bowl. The Seattle Seahawks beat the New England Patriots 29-13 in utter dominant fashion, honestly. It was a miracle it wasn't more. I think Jason Myers scored 5 field goals. He played a great game, but the real talking point was not the Seahawks entirely. I'll talk about them later. It was the Patriots' offense or the lack thereof. Overall, in this game, the Patriots had 3 turnovers. One of them was a lost fumble. One of them was an interception. And the worst one by far was an interception that was returned for a touchdown. Realistically, it was more of a strip sack return for a touchdown, but they ruled it an interception. I'm not going to go over the details and intricacies of that, but they turned over the ball 3 times. The Seahawks, 0 turnovers their entire playoff run, which is impressive to say the least. And when you look at the Patriots team overall, the result made sense. They are playing with 2 rookies on the left side of the line, first of all, and it clearly showed with Will Campbell getting bullied by a more experienced, more aggressive Seahawks defensive front. I think he got pressured. I don't remember what the exact number was, but it was the most in a playoff game. He gave up the most pressures in a playoff game in NFL history, I believe. And then on top of that, the weapons that the Patriots had, Stephon Diggs post ACL, Kayshon Boutte, and everyone else, that's not an adequate roster to compete in a Super Bowl. And a lot of people have been bringing up the schedule that the Patriots faced, 4th place schedule that they coasted through. And honestly, when you look at everything, that is true. Drake May was Superman during the regular season, which is why he got second in the MVP voting. But during the playoffs, when you actually play playoff level teams, he clearly struggled. He struggled against the Texans, fumbling the ball everywhere. Granted, the Texans' defense is absolutely amazing. That is the one thing they hang their hat on. He he turned over the ball everywhere during that game against the Broncos. Honestly, I thought the Broncos had a possibility of winning when I was watching the game, even with Jarrett Stidham at quarterback. If they had Bo Nix, I was going to take the Broncos because I saw that the way they played against the Texans, and it did not inspire confidence at all. And then you get to the Seahawks, and it was more of the same. Drake May, he looked like a second-year quarterback, honestly. He did not look ready for the moment. He was constantly under pressure, turning the ball over, and it wasn't the best performance in the world. However, I'm going to zoom out a bit, look at the big picture for the Patriots. Drake May is a second-year quarterback. So there is plenty of time for further development. It would have made a wonderful talking point if he won either the MVP this year or the Super Bowl. That would have made for fantastic discourse. Having Drake May and a Patriots team win a Super Bowl before Lamar Jackson, before Josh Allen, that would have been great for me and for all the discourse I could have waged on that. But there is a lot to build off of here. Their coach, Mike Vrabel, is amazing. Won Coach of the Year deservingly. Put together a fantastic season. But there are still questions that they have to answer. The Will Campbell question has to be addressed this game. He looked like he deserved to play at guard, but it's still unsure what the final result of that will be. He could potentially play guard. They could move their other rookie on the left side, whose name is eluding me right now. They could move him back to his college position of center and then maybe potentially draft another tackle to slot in outside, even though I don't know how I feel about such a young offensive line with 2 second-year players and a rookie out there. And then last year, the Patriots, they brought in a ton of free agents, and I believe that they're going to have to do the same again this offseason to really continue what they've done this season and build on it farther. But now we're going to look over at the Seahawks. The Seahawks, they dominated from start to finish. Even though they only scored 29 points, it could have been a whole lot more. And yes, I said only 29 points, which is 4 touchdowns. Jason Myers had 5 field goals. And honestly, if it weren't for Christian Gonzalez, who was by far the best player on the field, even though Kenneth Walker got MVP, it would have been so much worse. There were a couple plays. The pass breakup on the goal line against JSN was one. There was a deep ball to Rashid Shaheed as well that could have been another touchdown. Those are 2 right there. And Sam Darnold played a tight, efficient game. Like I said before, no turnovers in this game. He didn't have any turnovers this playoff run either, which is absolutely spectacular. Kenneth Walker, he rushed for 136 yards. No touchdown, which I believe makes him one of only a select few to win Super Bowl MVP without scoring a touchdown. Yeah, the 5th player to not score a touchdown or account for a touchdown, but be named Super Bowl MVP. He joins Joe Namath, Fred Biletnikoff, Deion Branch, and Julian Edelman to do that. But I will say he did have the possibility to do so after he, late in the game, ripped off a long touchdown run. It got called back because of penalty. Penalty was there. It was a holding call. But that was the one chance that he could have had to score. JSN wasn't exactly the monster that we've grown accustomed to this season in the game, but it didn't really matter. The Seahawks defense came to play. I talked about the struggles that the Patriots had because of the receivers, the linemen, Drake May not playing well. It was also because the Seahawks defense just forced all of those mistakes. They are absolutely disgustingly good. Dark Side, I love that name. Second coming of Legion of Boom. Eminwari, Witherspoon, Love, Ernest Jones. All of those players are just absolutely disgusting. They're aggressive and they fly around the field. And honestly, they were the reason that the Seahawks have been so good this year under Mike McDonald, who is in this modern era of like pass heavy offense. He's the first real defensive play calling head coach that's won a Super Bowl, and he's done a fantastic job. Like the Wonder Kids on offense, like McVay, Shanahan, Mike McDaniel. Mike McDonald is the defensive version of that, and if he can continue to do that for the rest of the season and for the next seasons, the Seahawks can continue to build on, especially when you consider how they've been drafting as of late. They drafted Witherspoon and JSN in the same draft, first round. They've just been building out a phenomenal roster. They drafted Kenneth Walker a while back out of Michigan State. They're making the right free agent moves. They got Marcus Lawrence. They signed Sam Darnold in free agency as well. They're making all the right moves in all the right spots. And when you look at the free agents that are going to be free agents and that could potentially leave, none of them are part of their essential young core of players that really make an impact. So realistically, they can continue to build. And then I want to focus on Sam Darnold a bit. I mentioned Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson earlier. Sam Darnold is the first one of the elite quarterbacks in that class to win a Super Bowl. Josh Allen hasn't won a Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson hasn't won a Super Bowl. Baker Mayfield hasn't won a Super Bowl. Sam Darnold has. And he's playing on his fifth team. He was on the Jets. He was on the Panthers. He was on the 49ers. He was on the Vikings. He's on the Seahawks. This is his fifth team. And yet he's the one that won the Super Bowl. A lot of people called last year's 14-3 season with the Vikings a fluke. He proved that was a load of bull this year. He did the exact same thing, 14-3 again with the Seahawks. Like I said, no turnovers in the playoffs. Absolutely stellar play. So it's absolutely incredible, and congratulations to the Seahawks for being Super Bowl 60 champions. I will say it was very entertaining to watch some of the reactions from Patriots fans here in Massachusetts. There were some riots at my college. I'll just leave it at that. Don't want to get into it too much. There were also some not so enthusiastic reactions from some 49ers fans that I know watching their division rival win the Super Bowl in their house. So, some fun reactions, but overall, the Seahawks won, and congratulations to Mike McDonald's, Sam Darnold, JSN, and that entire Seahawks roster. They did an incredible job this season. But this isn't something that you want to see. Steph is one of the most loved players in the NBA, 11-time All-Star. This was his 12th selection. And then also, he is being replaced by Brandon Ingram from the Raptors. I think that the choice should have been Harden, even if the West had a lot more All-Stars. Harden is putting up some insane numbers. He's putting up 25 points, 8 assists, shooting on effective field goal percentage of 50%. So he's having a really great season overall. And then this injury, it also brings something else into the equation, and that is the 65 game rule that the NBA has implemented, where you have to play 65 games to win awards, be on all NBA teams. And now Steph has missed 15 games. He can only miss, I believe it is, 2 more games after the break. So, no, not even. He could only miss 1 more game after the break. So, that's something that I'm not a huge fan of because this season, Jokic has missed time, Wemby's missed time, Shea has missed time. Those are honestly 3 first team All NBA players right there. So, this 65 game rule is really impacting a lot of players negatively and is something that should be changed. There's been a lot of debate ever since it was introduced, and not a lot of people are a fan of it. But now we're going to get into some more positive news, and that is the Super Bowl. After that, we're going to go back to the NBA. I know we're doing a bit of back and forth here, but Cam Thomas, after being released by the Brooklyn Nets, signed with the Bucks. Honestly, this is just a desperation move for the Bucks. They're trying to get absolutely anybody in the door after they didn't trade Giannis at the trade deadline. Just trying to do anything to appease him, anything to make it seem like they're doing something, making the roster competent around him, but in reality, they're not doing anything. I said he was going to go to the Nuggets. It turns out that he wasn't. I would have liked this more if he went to the Nuggets, but it's still not horrible, but it's not a great move either. That is all the major news that has happened in the world of sports. Nothing crazy with the trade deadline happening last week, so no major NBA news coming out from that other than Steph Curry. All-Star game is this weekend, so that should be interesting. Other than that, stay tuned for the episode coming out on Friday where I will give my power rankings of all 30 NBA teams going into the All-Star break. So tune in to see where all the teams stand going into the final home stretch of the season. And if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment, like, subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, follow, comment on the video, and follow on the social medias as well, TikTok, Instagram, and all that good stuff. Thank you for listening, and I will catch everyone on Friday.